Friends, today we're talking organization. After one whole year of turning this one-car garage into my dream workshop, it is finally time to get organized. Now, throughout this video, I will for sure be referencing some of the organization tips that I shared in that first shed workshop organization video. So if you haven't seen it yet, I'll link it below this video for you to check out. But for today's video, we are going to be talking about not one, not two, not even three, but 5 of my favorite organization tips for small workshop spaces. And don't worry, because your girl will be linking pretty much every single thing that I share in this video on my website, so check out the link to that below this video as well if you're interested. That being said, friends, I am so excited to get this workshop organized, so let's get started. This video is sponsored by Best Buy. Okay, before we talk about actual organization, let's talk about something super important first. The layout of our new workshop. When you have a small shop space, especially like I did in my shed workshop, you have to decide if you want your tools to move around on wheels or if you would like everything to stay in one spot. In my shed, everything was on wheels because the space was so tiny.
A center for ants?
There were many times where I had to roll everything that was in my shed outside in order to use it. But then I got my garage and I wanted a totally different setup. I have a workstation, a miter station, and even an Alfie table for working with big pieces of wood, and none of them are on wheels. It feels like a dream. And when I designed all of these spaces, I designed all of them with places to store things to keep my 275 square foot workshop nice and organized. And guess what? Fun fact, you can actually check out Bill's videos for all 3 of these stations on my channel and my friend Shara at Woodshop Diaries channel as well. And we also have plans for all of them in case you are looking to build custom workbenches for your own workshop as well. I'm not gonna lie, it was way cheaper to build every single one of these workstations custom than to purchase them pre-made from the home improvement store. You're welcome. But now that I've talked about layout and some additional options for organizing your space, let's talk about actually organizing the space, starting with putting some smaller items in drawers to get them organized. Don't judge me. You know we all have a junk drawer like this. Let's make it better. Come on. All right, let's talk about drawers. So there are many ways to organize them in your workshop. You can use things you buy from stores, make your own from things you already have, or find cheap ways to keep everything neat. In fact, one option I like is these containers from the dollar store. They come in lots of sizes and are super cheap, but you can't really make them exactly how you want. So this is where scrapwood hoarding comes in handy because you can organize your drawers using scrapwood. Just cut them down to size and fit them into the drawers with nail or glue. I personally like nails, that way I can change them later because let's be real, my shop is ever changing. Now, I like to save money on storing the bigger things in drawers. For small parts, I do like to invest in something a little more expensive, and that is a pack-out system where I can store some tools and materials that I often bring to job sites. These things lock together and you can travel with them pretty easily. They are rad. But now that we have these drawers organized, let's talk about something different, and that is storing things vertically. Vertical storage is really, really useful in a small workshop space. And what do I mean by vertical storage? I mean storing things on the walls or in the ceiling. In fact, in my old workshop, I had a lot of pegboard on my walls to hang a lot of my tools instead of closed storage. And I also stored a lot of things in the roof as well, which we'll talk about a little later in this video. Now, even though in my new workshop, I wanted to put all of my tools in cabinets, I did still want to actually hang my clamps on the wall for easy use and easy access. So I'm going to show you my favorite clamp storage hack. This is the wall where I'm hanging my clamps. As you can see, I've already installed a couple of clamp racks. I took one out of the wall to show you how to install them. I'm going to show you how easy it is, and then we're going to get the clamps up on this wall. And yes, I'm aware there's a TV here. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's do it. Vertical storage is really useful in a small workshop because you can use wall space to hang up your tools. Like I said, in my old workshop, I had a board with pegs on it. In my new workshop, I just wanted to use shelves with doors, but I still wanted to hang the clamps on the wall. I use these special brackets that are easy to put up, and don't worry, they stay in place very well. They never fell down in my old workshop either. I know some people are nervous about the TV, but I'm cool with it. So speaking of the TV, I originally got it to use as a screen when I'm making YouTube videos, but now thanks to the sponsor of this video, Best Buy, I have a new fun idea for how to use it in my workshop. The more organized the shop space gets, the more I find myself using it as an actual office and studio space, and the more I keep wishing that I had access to an actual TV to keep me entertained on slow work days. Now, we don't actually currently have a TV cable plan, but luckily what I do have now in this space is a Tablo device. The Tablo device gives me the ability to watch, pause, and record broadcast TV right from my shop without a cable TV subscription. Even better, install was an absolute breeze. It just connected to a small indoor wall-mounted antenna and my Wi-Fi, and now I'm able to stream live sports, local news, primetime shows, and free streaming channels to literally every TV in my house. I can also watch, pause, and record live TV as well without having to pay for subscription, monthly fees, or sign any contracts. Side note, I've been doing monthly DIY segments with my local news crew over the past year, and I actually haven't been able to watch any of them when they go live on TV or record them to share with family since we don't have cable TV. So I really am so excited about the Tablo. We are also big followers of the Tour de France, which is in a completely different time zone, so recording each stage has been awesome. If you're interested in checking out the Tablo device for yourself or for picking one up for your home, you can shop Tablo at Best Buy by clicking on the link below this video. It has been so rad to have some entertainment in this shop, especially on days that I'm using it as an office. And speaking of this shop, let's get back to organizing. So we talked about drawer storage, but we haven't talked about cabinet storage. When my friend Shara helped me build these cabinets, we actually created adjustable shelves for the insides of pretty much all of the cabinets. But here's the thing, I'm also using my cabinets to store some bigger equipment, like my planer or my Craig Foreman, or just like larger things that don't necessarily fit in drawers. So one thing that Shara had actually suggested when we were building was to consider the idea of building pull-out drawers for my cabinets, especially for the stuff that's really heavy to lift. So if you're like me and you want to store your big stuff in cabinets or hide it away in your small space, then let's build some pull-out drawers for our stuff. This is one of those projects I kicked myself for not doing sooner because it is so simple. The best part about it too is you don't have to be really good at making drawers to make drawers for your cabinets, for your workshop. In fact, I literally just used plywood, some pocket hole screws, and some wood glue and brad nails to make it all happen, and it only took me a few hours to do. Now, these particular drawer boxes that we're making right here are for the planer and for the Craig jig, which are kind of heavy, so I did actually use heavy-duty drawer slides for these. I think they hold up to like 400 pounds, which is absurd. These things do not weigh 400 pounds, but I will link them along with everything else under this video in case you're interested in also storing your heavy tools into your cabinets. But as you can see, essentially I just measured the tools that I had, built the drawer boxes around them by cutting the plywood slightly larger than those tools, adding some sides to the bottom using some pocket holes, and then I nailed and glued the fronts and the backs on before installing them into the actual cabinet boxes. Before we put our drawer slides in, which I got some heavy duty ones, these are probably like overkill, but these hold I think like 200 pounds of weight. But typically when you attach drawer slides, you can attach them directly to your cabinet. However, because we are using a cabinet and we have hinges in the way, we need a spacer. So I cut this is like a 1x3, down to the size of the drawer slide. Now, actually what I'm gonna do is place a spacer underneath it. By putting the spacer in now, when the drawer actually slides out, it will not hit the door. By having a small spacer here, when we attach the drawer slides, now I can slide the spacer under the drawer box, and then we know that the drawer box and the slides match up. So I'm gonna get started on that. The other thing I'm gonna do is I cut a small spacer here, just like an additional 1/2-inch spacer. I'm just gonna slide this here. What this is gonna do is help me line up where my rail has to go for the drawer slide. And now I know that the drawer slide is going to completely avoid the hinge when it slides out. So I should probably adjust the viewfinder and make sure that you can all see me. Why did I choose this route? I could have gone around. This would make a really great spot for hide and seek, to be quite honest. I'm a mess. Who lets me be a content creator? So real quick thing to note here, I just tacked in these spacers with nails, and then when I screwed the actual slides in, I did just use slightly longer screws than what come with the typical rails. Let's get a drawer box on. Woo! Fun fact. I purposefully chose hinges for these doors that come off very easily, just in case I ever need to use the plater or the Craig jig. I'm going to remove this door actually to make applying these drawer sides so much easier, and then we'll put it back on. So quick tip inside of this quick tip about organizing your cabinets, having quick release hinges on your doors is a game changer because now I don't have to actually take these tools off of these drawers. I can just pull the drawers out, pull the cabinet doors off, and I'm able to use longer stock that goes past the cabinet doors and will not hit the cabinets at all. Score. So anyway, that is basically the tutorial on how to put drawers in your cabinets for your tools. Now that we are in business, I think it's time to focus on talking about the thing I've been using to build all of these things in my shop, scrapwood storage. Imagine it didn't fit. It's so perfect, like a glove. Woo! We've talked about layout, we've talked about cabinet and drawer storage, we talked about a little bit of vertical space, but we haven't talked about yet is what I personally think is the hardest thing to tackle in a small workshop, and that is storing lumber. So I have an idea for this. Let's do it. Personally, I think lumber storage really is the hardest thing to master in a small workshop. In my old workshop, I kept the wood in the ceiling, but for this workshop, I want something different. I'm legit nervous this is gonna fall on me. This is why I need scraps. This is like the woodworker's version of the sword and the stone. Now I know I just went on a whole rant in the layout portion of this video about wanting everything in this new shop to be stationary, but lumber storage is going to be the exception to that rule. So, in fact, we are going to be building a really simple mobile lumber storage rack, and this took me about an afternoon or so to do with a little bit of being extra added on the top because, you know, that's me. All right, what I want to do is going to be so overkill for a scrapwood cart, but I just want it to look good. Some people say potato, some people say potato, some people say go the extra mile, and some people say I'm being extra. Either way, I made sure that this scrapwood cart looked good. Bad boy right here is a little too beefy to lift and put on the Craig jig, so we're gonna go back to basics with the OG Craig jig. Does anybody else's brain do that? Like you say a word and then immediately your brain is like, this is the song that goes with that lyric, even though you weren't even singing a song or a lyric to begin with. No, just me. So back to the build. While this build is pretty basic, it consists of a bottom, two sides, a front and a back, and dividers, and some wheels. I will post plans for this project on my website. You can find the link to that below this video in case you are interested in building a cart like this for your shop. I think the best part about this cart though is you can customize it to any size shop. Mine is pretty compact. If I had a bigger shop, I'd make it bigger, but you do you, fam. I mean, personally, I just really wanted to get a lot of my lumber off of the floor. I wanted a place to put it, and honestly, I have way too much lumber, so once this thing fills up, it's kind of a nice gauge for like when it's time to get rid of some scraps, if you know what I mean. All right, I'm about to do something really extra, like really extra. This is so not mandatory for this build. In fact, it's not even like considered optional. You don't really have to do this at all, but what I'm gonna do is I don't like these exposed edges, so I'm going to edge band all of them to match all of my other cabinets in my shop because I am who I am. So this is definitely one of those projects that you can leave alone after you build it. Like I said, I really did a couple things here to go the extra mile to make this scrapwood cart look aesthetically pleasing and match the rest of my shop, but that is so not mandatory. Either way though, what I will say is having this lumber cart has been so helpful because I've been able to really organize everything, take stock of everything, get rid of things I don't need, and I'm so happy I took an afternoon to build it. I really do think think that lumber storage is the hardest part of organizing a small shop sometimes. There are some other options like vertical storage with some hooks and some shelving. For me, I like the idea of being able to roll things out and roll things back in, which is why I chose it. But now that the scrap wood is stored, let's move on to our last and our final tip in the shop organization video. So now that we pretty much organized this space, I want to talk about one more thing that I get asked about probably the most out of anything, and that is dust collection. Let's get started. All right, so keeping dust out of your workshop is so important, and there are so many ways to do it in a small space. But first, let's talk about collecting dust from big tools like sanders, planers, table saws. These tools make a lot of dust, so you need a strong dust collector. In my small workshop, I like to use a system that hangs on the wall. Doing this saves so much valuable real estate on the floor or of your workbenches. It is just a game changer to have it hanging up on the wall. Now, let's be real, I don't use this wall collector for everything. For smaller tools like my miter saw, my circular saw, my sander, I do use smaller dust vacs for this, and I do opt to get different accessories for the dust vacs like smaller hoses or hoses that fit both the vac and my tools. I'll link all of those, don't worry, but essentially you have so many options in so many different sizes and budgets, ranging from dust vacs you can get at your local home improvement store and manually power on, to dust vacs that you can order from specialty stores that power on automatically every time you use your tools. All right, friends, so I think that is it for my 5 shop tips for small space organization. I've been working in small spaces for the longest time. I actually started my woodworking journey in an 8x10 shed and then moved to a 12x12 shed, and now I am in this 275 square foot garage space. So I have learned a lot about different ways to maximize small workshop spaces, and I really hope that all of these tips help you maximize and organize yours as well. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. I'll be sharing a full garage to workshop transformation video on the channel so soon. I'm so excited to share this entire process from start to finish in one video. So I hope you'll hang out with me while I do that. In the meantime though, friends, I will see you soon with another project. So until then, happy DIYing.